to the RunnerX podcast, where we talk about all things running. As many runners know, it's 90% mental. So join Coach Valerie and Coach Caroline as we go through the mental side of running. Okay, welcome back to the RunnerX podcast. I'm your host, Coach Caroline, and I'm here with Coach Valerie. And we've got a really good topic today. We had a fantastic discussion last week that I wish I'd recorded, but I forgot. So I'm going to ask Valerie some questions about basically the difference kind of between when should you run when you're injured, like when are you sore and when are you injured? So Valerie, give them a little background about what we were talking about last week with injury. And I think you said you sprained your ankle.
Yeah, so it was it was a home cleaning injury. I was bending down. I stayed in one position for too long, but I was down just cleaning my carpet because I have dogs. And when I went to stand up, I stood up wrong, and I literally, like I'm sure you guys have done before, twisted my ankle, just the old-fashioned, and immediately I couldn't put weight on it. And so I knew, I was like, all right, you just made a huge mistake in whatever it was you just did. And so I immediately went and got a little ball to start rolling my hip just to get myself out of the pain. The long story short,
I was going to say, that's interesting. Can you stop for a second there? Because you said you hurt your ankle, but you rolled your hip.
Right. Well, when you do something to your foot or your ankle, what's interesting is you always want to go up the river. You want to go up the river, down the river from wherever your injury is. But I knew that I had just injured the ankle, and it didn't want pressure. It didn't want to bear weight. So I knew, I was like, okay, I'm not going to apply more damage to the damaged area. I'm not going to try to I'm not going to try to stretch it or do anything. I'm going to let it just be. Because remember, this is the thing, muscles contract and muscles relax. So if you can do anything for the muscle to relax, you're going to benefit. So actually stretching and rolling the hip will actually relax the calf and the foot.
That's really important. And I want people to really hear that because I'll be honest, my first thought would have been probably to start trying to turn my ankle more, right? To start trying to stretch the top of my foot, which obviously makes perfect sense that that's exactly what I should not be doing. And like you said, making sure that by relaxing the hip, it's actually going to relax your calf, right? It's going to relax my foot. It's going to, leave the foot alone. That's important.
Well, and then time, once my foot calmed down and everything calmed down, and then what I did is I checked, can I make a circle with my ankle? You're not standing up, staying seated. Can I move? Can I flex? Can I point? Where is it hurting? And, for everybody, by the way, I'm definitely not saying if you sprain your ankle, just jump up and go running or anything like that.
Right.
But definitely, you have to kind of, find out what just happened. Now that, by the way, is what I call an acute injury. So that immediately, you know what you did. There was an error in your movement. And so then now I've got to recover from this versus I have a shin splint or plantar fasciitis or a nagging injury. But they both should get treated very similarly, meaning let's find, like when you twist your ankle or you step off a curb, okay, you know what you did. There was an error in your movement, which is really easy. Like, okay, let's not do that again, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with running. If you've got a nagging injury or a recurring injury or an injury you can't get out of, then we need to see your run, because whether I give you I could tell you to stretch your hips or roll, but if I'm going to go back and do the incorrect movement, then I'm going to have to keep coming back to either that same stretch, right? Or, so that the really cool part when you're working both with healing an injury. So sometimes it's the best part about an injury, I tell people, is it really, really makes you both do your self-care and work on your movement. And that's exactly what I had to do. I spent 1 week, guys, not running, but working in my movement. And then I would instead of just, instead of trying to go for a run, I would check to see, can I stand in my running pose? Can I change support? Can I pull my feet a few times? And if you can do this without pain, then you can take it a little bit further.
Okay. And then you were talking about that when you were running, the friend of yours was mentioning that maybe you shouldn't run on your foot, and explain what we were talking about, that what you were doing that the person didn't realize with the core,
Well, that's the thing,
with your core.
when you're running with correct form, and you know how to run. One of the best parts about what we teach, right, is we help people what's called unweigh their body. So when I'm running, I'm actually only pulling 2% of my body weight. So if I really focus and hold myself in the correct pose and fall and pull, then I should not be feeling pain. My muscles are working correctly. Everything's working together, and by the way, again, we're talking about someone I've spent so much time on skill, but I also spend a lot of time on strengthening my feet. And so I have the foundation, like you're saying, core. I like the word core, and I want to include the word core to be the center of my body, and then also my foundation, like my feet.
Right. Because if your feet are taking on that whole weight, right? And you need to, but that's not what's really holding you up. Your core is actually what's holding you up.
Right. In 100%.
Yeah. So then how do I know? Give me an idea. Like you said, an acute injury versus a nagging injury. Let's say I'm just starting to run, or I'm just getting back into running, and I come back in, and my hamstrings are feeling, maybe I sat too long after I went running or worked out, and they hurt, right? And it feels like lactic acid. So can you give me a gauge of like pain tolerance to know when are my muscles just sore and just have some lactic acid that probably should be flushed out? And when is it like, no, okay, you need to rest?
Right. Well, and it's funny because, we're around the same age, so we can laugh at, we used to say, you have to run through the pain. Remember that?
Yeah.
Right. That was like a honestly, this is the thing, especially I tell people first of all, if you are really injured and you're going to go running, you first need to be able to bear weight. Like I would certainly not try to run if I couldn't hold my body weight. Like that's number one. However, if let's go two ways. Let's say I'm out running and something starts to hurt. I'm out running and I get a pain, but let's just say hamstring. You just said hamstring. So First of all, I'm going to stop running. I'm going to, depending on the level of pain, let's say it's just a twinge. I feel a twinge in my hamstring. If I've been training and working on my movement, then the first thing you could think is, oh, I feel my hamstring. I must be over pulling. So then you could think about trying to pull less, right? Or like we're talking about with our core, can I correct my position at all of my run to get myself back in a better position and get out of pain? If you can, that's great. Now, let's say I can't. Let's say I keep running and that hamstring is turning from a twinge into like a little bit of a shout. Then I highly suggest stop running. And you could do a stretch. You could do just, walk it out a second and then try to come back into the running. But pain is your body telling you I'm moving incorrectly. So can I correct my movement? Then I can get back into my running. And so if I have that injury or have the pain, that's what we want to make sure you can do.
Okay, this is great. Thanks, guys. Go ahead and hopefully you've subscribed. If not, if you want to get some more information, go to www.runrx.fit. We also have show notes, and we'll point you to any exercises you might have or things you might need to do to correct your movement for free. And then, of course, we have the membership, so we hope you'll join us. Thank you for joining us on the RunRx podcast. If you'd like to know more, join us at www.runrx.fit. And if you have additional questions that you'd like answered on the podcast, email us at support@runrx.fit.